south.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's more than an honour to rise this afternoon to speak to a bill which is the culmination of decades of work by thousands and thousands of Canadians. Previous governments, previous cabinets, previous caucuses, previous prime ministers, existing prime ministers. It really is an act which transcends decades of goodwill and good faith from Canadians from across the country, and of course, the great people of the Deh Cho First Nations. This is indeed a spectacular moment for Canada. It's spectacular because we are one step closer to maintaining precious and increasingly rare natural capital. This is a legacy for all, as the Minister has pointed out, a legacy not just for Canadians, but for the world. And we need more of it, Mr. Speaker. We need more of it in this country. We need more of it on this continent. And we need more of it on this planet. The bill for Canadians watching or reading is really an effort to overcome some challenges in a major expansion of territory from some 5,000 square kilometers to over 30,000 square kilometers of what is spectacular mountain terrain, unique geological landforms, and crucial wildlife habitat. In so doing, what we're really allowing for here as parliamentarians is to accommodate certain third-party interests in this expansion area. And as the official opposition, we are satisfied. We have been assured by Parks Canada and the Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society and the leadership and the people of the Deh Cho First Nations and the Minister and his officials themselves that these changes to the Canada National Parks Act are indispensable to bringing about the legislative and regulatory changes that are required in order to enlarge the Nahanni National Park Reserve of Canada. We are satisfied that these new powers, these new regulatory changes are a reasonable balance. But we do have residual and continuing concerns about, for example, whether we're setting the right precedent. This is not only important for the expansion of Nahanni, but also possibly for the expansion of other parks and reserves across this magnificent country. We want to be careful not to create weaknesses in the park system, not to create unnecessary precedents for economic activity, for example. So, as parliamentarians, I'm sure we will all be monitoring closely the exercise of these new or amended powers as set out in this bill, which allows for the careful crafting, the collage, the bringing together of an expanded territory to, of course, as I said, expand our natural capital. It's important to reflect back on the fact that this has been in motion now since 1972. If there's any originating, I think, group or effort led by a particular political personality, it would have to go to former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, who set aside as a national park reserve in 1972 the Nahanni, gazetted in 1976 under the National Parks Act. Since then, in 1984, a previous government worked with Parks Canada as wanting to increase the size of the Nahanni, building considerably in due course, Mr. Speaker, on the very good work of all those hundreds of Canadians who participated in the panel on ecological integrity, struck by a previous government, the Liberal government at that time, examining fundamental questions around the ecological integrity of our park system. Not just the ecological integrity, but the degree to which our park system was connected and whether it was working, particularly for our large predatory species. It raised questions and concerns which linger, not only for our parks right across the country, but yes, even in the context of this expansion, It raises questions around the notion of buffering our national parks and ensuring that economic activities like mining or petroleum exploitation, which abuts or comes up to the edge of a national park, is in fact properly buffered. The very words in the ecological vision for the Naha Deh are striking. This is an excerpt from the Park Management Plan. And I quote, "The Dene are inseparable from the land. Traditional subsistence harvesting will continue to be an integral and sustainable part of the ecosystem and will occur in accordance with Dene law and principles. Naha Deh will continue to be revered as a place of mystery, of spirituality, and healing. It'll be a model of cooperative management with First Nations of the Deh Cho where ecological and cultural integrity is protected. Visitor access and enjoyment is encouraged within the limits of ecological integrity and wilderness experience, and messages of natural and cultural heritage are communicated with excellence." The magnificence in the creation of the expansion of this Nahanni National Park Reserve, Mr. Speaker, speaks to our future and whether or not we will be wise enough as a species to learn how to live within the carrying capacity of the planet itself. This territory, this expanded land mass, will serve as a reminder that we can do better and we must do better. That we have the know-how, we have the science. It's now the question of will and the question of managing our way forward so that we can increase understanding, so we can enhance ecological integrity, not just within a park system or a specific park like the Nahanni, but right across this incredible country and continent. We've satisfied ourselves, Mr. Speaker, that the work that we launched in 2003 through the Deh Cho First Nations and Parks Canada Memorandum of Understanding has been more than productive. That expansion working group set by the Nahanni expansion working group, I should say, in 2003, looked at the grizzly bears and the woodland caribou and the Dall's sheep and the bull trout, the vegetation, the forest fires, the glaciers, the landscapes, tourism and the socio-economic implications and the impact for the park. It is true that extensive public consultations have been held, and that will be important in the context of remaining engaged with our citizenry and our First Nations peoples as we go forward to complete this job. We know that 9% of the Deh Cho part of the Greater Nahanni ecosystem has been excluded from the expanded National Park Reserve. We know this represents virtually all of the hydrocarbon potential and about half of most of the important mineral potential identified in the area, as well as 100% of the existing mineral claims and mineral leases. So as parliamentarians, we'll be watching closely. All of us have that obligation. We will work cooperatively to ensure that our park system, our reserve systems are properly connected, that they are properly buffered so that we can enhance our natural capital as opposed to draw it down, Mr. Speaker. So in closing, I would like to congratulate all previous governments, all parties here today, all non-governmental organizations who have been involved in this process over decades, the Deh Cho First Nations, the people of Canada, and the wisdom of all who have seen fit to bring this to a successful conclusion for Canadians today and the citizens around the world today and in future generations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming debate.